Well, up till now, we've covered most English language publications that have to do with the 84 Mahasiddhas, but there is one publication that I was waiting on. And it's called Seeing the Sacred in Samsara, an illustrated guide to the 84 Mahasiddhas by Donald Lopez. Now, this was published by Shambhala. I think it's in 2019. And the general layout of the book is a preface by the owner of the 84, it's actually 85 paintings, because it includes Vajradhara at the beginning, not the end. And it's the owner is a member of the Taetong family. Taetong family is quite prominent in Tibet in the past, in India, and then a number of them living in Seattle, Washington. I used to spend a lot of time with the Taetong family, and when they moved to Seattle, Washington, especially in the early 80s. Now, there's a long introduction by Donald Lopez, and then there is a separate section called The Painting Guide of Katok Rigzen Sewang Norbu, and then there's the kind of short biographies of the 84 Mahasiddhas, along with each of the descriptions from the Katok Sewang Norbu guide. Now, I don't want to spend much time talking about the paintings, because the paintings are done in the early 20th century. Now, in the publication, they say that they're in a Karma Gadri style, and this is just not true, because we don't actually have a Karma Gadri style. Karma Gadri is a tradition that incorporates many styles. The publication goes on to say it's also in a Situ Panchen Palpung iconographic program, and this is also not true either. It's following much more of a New Menri style of painting, which is more common in the Chamdo area or with the Gelug community of monasteries in the Kham region. And then also it talks about how it is so accurate to following the guidebook for drawing them and following the Palpung tradition. And this also is not true. There's many examples where they're just simply not following the guidebook at all. But that's not my issue here. My issue, and what I think is really important about this book, is that they do have a translation of Katok Sewang Norbu's Driik. Driik is the method of painting or drawing the 84 Mahasiddhas. And this text by Katok Sewang Norbu is an edited version of a text by Jonang Taranata that he did in the early 17th century when he was having murals painted at Jonang Monastery. And then from this, Katok Rigzen Sewang Norbu went to Jonang, and he got permission from the Ganden Podrang government, and he actually saw the murals, and he actually found a guidebook to how to draw them, and he made a quick copy of his own, an edited copy, which he took back to Palpung later, and then. It's commonly said that Situ Panchen created all of these sets of 11 composition sets of the 84 Mahasiddhas. And there's no evidence for this. What we have evidence for, actually, is that they were commissioned by Katok Sewang Norbu himself, and not commissioned by Situ Panchen. So there's a lot of strange information here. Now, also in the publication, it talks about how the paintings were, the original text for this was done by a fellow named Abhayadatta. Well, it's become quite clear in the last 20 years that Abhayadatta is just another name, or Abhayadatta Shri is another name for Abhayakara Gupta, the famous abbot and teacher of a number of Tibetans, and the famous, Mundrup Sherab, who was from either Shisha or he was either from the Kham region of Tibet, Minyak. And many Tibetans believe he's a Minyakpa and a real Tibetan, and he's not a Shisha person, which is really a different ethnic community. There's a lot of this, and how we know this is because we have many different versions or many different editions of the text of the biographies of the 84 Mahasiddhas, which this is based on, in Tibet, and many of them are much clearer in having in the colophon that Abhayadatta and Abhayakaragupta are the same person, and also the lineage of students is the same. Okay, now what's really important and special about this book is that they have a translation of Katok Rigzin Sewang Norbu's Dreek based on Taranata's Dreek. So this is what's really valuable because it's very useful in looking at all kinds of other systems of paintings, both murals and scrollwork compositions, and also even sculpture, to look at them and to try and identify them and to try and date them. What's interesting to note also is that Taranata's copy of the Dreek is not commonly available. As a matter of fact, I looked for it in the early 2000s, and I looked through the Jonang Taranata's 30-volume collected works, and in the Karchak, in the contents of the collected works, it's listed there as being included, but in fact it wasn't included. When the block prints were done for the Jonang Taranata's Sungbom, his collected works, it was known that he had done a Dreek, a description of the 84 Mahasiddhas for painters, but they did not have it at the time, so it was never included in. So I was very fortunate, and Alak Zenka Rinpoche agreed to send some of his students throughout Tibet to see if they could find this publication. And then I think it was in 2003, then Zenka Rinpoche came back and gave me a handwritten copy that one of his students had found, a handwritten copy of the text. And it is different than Katok Sewang Norbu's. Katok Sewang Norbu takes some liberties and he makes some changes. So we have two copies of this now. We have the original, and then we have the edited version by Katok Sewang Norbu. So really what's important about this publication is the inclusion of this Katok Sewang Norbu's English translation of his text, and then using this as a tool to look at other painting sets that are earlier, that are maybe in a Palpung style of painting, or maybe in a Khenri style of painting, which is more the favorite style of Jonang Taranata. Even these paintings in this book, Seeing the Sacred in Samsara, they're not really they're not in a Karma Gadri, because that doesn't exist, but they're not really even in a Palpung style. They do copy some elements of Palpung, such as with the buildings, but they're not true Palpung. But this is a good tool. It's a key to use with other collections, especially large collections of the 84 Mahasiddhas, of which we have many, many different types and many different styles. So we'll leave it there. You can press like, you can subscribe, you can join HAR on Patreon, and you can also make a donation, a year-end donation, on the homepage of Himalayan Art Resources.